Creating a consistent trading plan. In order to be consistent in the market, you need to have a detailed trading plan and keep it up to date. Discipline is the #1 factor that will affect your P&L in the market. You can have all the setups in the world, but sticking to your trading plan is what will give you consistency. Hey there, Tamir from Fibonaccis-Traders.com here with the last market recap for 2022. Let's hit the charts. Before we start, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. And let's hit the charts. This video will be slightly different because we will watch multi-time frames, daily and weekly. For the monthly, quarterly and yearly, I will post on Twitter and on Fibonaccis-Traders Discord. So make sure you follow me on Twitter and check the link below for Discord. SPY on the daily, as we can see, bulls are struggling to hold the 378 area. If this one breaks to the downside, we have the 370, 361 and 350 to the downside. And if we zoom out to the weekly, we can see on the weekly higher low, but still in a steep downtrend. October lows held above this white trend line. This white trend line goes all the way back to April of 2009. Then September 11, December 18 broke down during COVID, and October held. Let's see if we can continue some bounce towards this previous high at a 410, or if this trend line will break to the downside. Brace yourself, because we might go all the way down towards the red trend line, which held 09 and COVID-19 lows. QQQ daily holding barely the 263, but as we know, one candle does not identify a trend reversal. We are still in a very steep bearish market on the Qs since 410, now holding this yellow trend line. This yellow trend line goes all the way to December 08, March 09 lows, held COVID-19 low, and now October and during December it's holding barely. Let's see. The bulls among us can see the positive side, that we might have a double bottom scenario, but as we said, bears are in full control. Dow Jones daily 335 is like concrete as resistance. On the weekly, we can see basically moving sideways past 2 weeks, holding the 323. 335 is a very strong resistance. We have levels to the upside, levels to the downside, so follow price and use these levels to manage risk. We don't need any other indicators. Watch the how-to playlist I have on this channel. Many informational, educational videos on Fibonacci, trend lines, price action, and many more. So check it out. Let me know what you think. I might be doing more of those videos. IWM daily 172 to the downside, 175 to the upside. This is the tight range that the IWM is consolidating inside we have levels to the downside, levels to the upside, but we also have this long-term downtrend channel from November 2021, August 22, and during November and December earlier this year. And if we zoom out to the weekly, we can clearly see this yellow trend line holding since 2009, 11, broke down, up, retested as support, and now support since, we can say also since June's low, October lows, and now IWM, 2 consecutive dojis. So let's see where it takes us. SMH on the daily, 200 is struggling to hold. This level is the 618 Fibonacci retracement level. Swing low, swing high. Now we have levels to the downside, levels to the upside. On the weekly, always zoom out, zoom in, watch multiple time frames to get a better point of view on price action. We have this trend line that goes all the way back to November, December 21, March, August, and during November. And now let's see if during January or so we can retest it, or breaking below the 192, we will see 167 and maybe even this yellow trend line that, as we can see only by looking left, held all previous lows. COVID low 2016, 2015, and all the way back to the crash of 08. XLV, healthcare sector, rising uptrend channel. We can see holding these higher lows since October. Now let's see if we can get a bounce towards the upper trend line and breaking up and above towards this trend line here. And if we look on the weekly, hey Santa, we can see some kind of a pullback since this bull run. October lows 120 all the way to 140. Now pulled back, 133 needs to hold, 137 is the resistance, so pay attention to the levels. This sector is showing relative strength to the rest of the market. Also the industrial, the XLI, since October lows, the 82 area went all the way up to 103, now bouncing up and down and hovering around the 96, 98 area. So we have 95 to the downside needs to hold. Failing to hold, we have all these levels to the downside, but we want a weekly close above the 100, and then we might attack the 103 and even the 107. Also, this sector showing relative strength to the rest of the market. Apple, nothing much from yesterday's meltdown. Today, inside day, trying to get back above the 130, and on the weekly trying to make some kind of a doji. And if we look left, every time Apple made a doji after a very steep downtrend, it bounced. So let's see if this doji will validate. Also here we have steep downtrend, 2 consecutive doji, bounce, and back to the downside. Now another steep downtrend. Let's see if this doji will validate and can we get some kind of a bounce on Apple. If not, this trend line will get retested and this trend line needs to hold the support. If this trend line fails to hold support, we will see 114 and maybe even 100 on Apple. Check the link that will pop just about now on the right corner here. The big tech fallout video I made 3-4 weeks ago. So check it out. It's about Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, Tesla bouncing and trying to get back above this trend line here. Close the gap. Now Tesla have this gap over here, but zoom out to get a better point of view on price action, and we see Tesla fall out from 411 towards the 106. Now trying to make a doji of a Fibonacci level. Let's see if this one can validate. If not, we have 81 gap that will get closed. Netflix moving sideways between the 280 and the 300. Nothing much since December 15 on Netflix, but it is showing relative strength to the market. And we can see that this trend line here is holding. Bulls tried to break to the downside, but then today bulls came and pushed price back above it. This trend line holds the higher lows. Now let's see if we can close the week and the year above the 300, and next year, Tuesday, because Monday market is closed, we can go all the way and close this gap here during next week. We have Nvidia. Swing low, swing high, retracement towards the 50% retracement, 2 consecutive dojis. Let's see if the 50% with this doji can hold. Failing to hold, we have the levels to the downside to follow as risk management if you're long. Zoom out. Still in a downtrend channel. This blue trend line holds as resistance for the lower highs, and this red trend line holds the lower lows. Doji on the weekly, we have another day. Let's see if it will close as a doji. Shopify on the daily, same, holding the 50% retracement from this uptrend since October. Swing low, swing high towards the 45 retracement, 50% area. Now 35, 36 is a resistance, because if we look left, it was a very important support and resistance throughout 2022. On the weekly, we can see that Shopify basically since May earlier this year is moving some kind of a box, if you will, with exception here to the downside, but nothing much. So if you're looking to go short or long on Shopify, wait for a break for either side, never be biased. Break to the downside, we can take short. Break to the upside, we can take long. And again, educational purposes only. Always do your own due diligence. Never follow blindly anyone on any social media, paid or free services. Microsoft. Barely moving, as we can see. 234 to the downside, 243 to the upside. Nothing much on Microsoft. On the weekly, inside week for now. Let's see how Friday will end, but I assume it will not break the 234 to the downside or the 245 to the upside, so it will remain inside week. 330, 237, 238, as we can see, is a very important level of support. Looking left, support, resistance, and now holding as support. Amazon continuing to show weakness, just continuing sliding down this trend line here, this trend line going all the way to September 20, resistance, then it became support to the lower lows, lower low, and also during November and December holding the lower lows, but it's continuing to the downside, sliding down. On the weekly, nothing much. 85 struggling to hold. If this one fails to hold, we can see Amazon going to 67, in my opinion. So it was a longer video, but this was the last daily market recap for 2022. You need to start, we all need to start planning 2023 last week, but if you still didn't start planning, this is the time. Start planning where do you want to be next year, this time next year, per your trading journey. Check the links in the description below, and until next year, stay safe.